All right, family, let's get straight into it.
I am a proud black Donald J. Trump supporter, and I don't have no problem with saying that. It ain't no shame in my game, although I get a lot of backlash and criticism from people that are my similar shade, the ones that support the party of pro choice but have a problem with other people that choose differently from them. Um, you know, they like to think that I'm supporting a white racist supremacist, but they can't name me one policy that Trump has signed that was racist. Meanwhile, I can tell you what the party that you support has been behind. Just in case you forgot, your party was behind slavery, was behind the KKK, which was a terrorist group, was behind the Jim Crow laws, and also was behind the 94 crime bill that incarcerated mass numbers of African American men. Okay? And that has suffered from that still to this day. I'm sure a lot of us know somebody that's a felon or have that on their record because of that bill alone. Okay? So y'all can miss me with this BS. And you know that little fake black Indian woman that they had neck and neck in the polls saying that they were side by side when that was found to be untrue? She reportedly was locking up or holding, should I say, African American men longer than their sentences just to get cheap labor out of them. But y'all don't want to talk about that. Interesting. And then you want to say that I'm a part of the 8% that voted for Trump. Now I see why our president is trying to get rid of the Department of Education, because this liberal education ain't worth shit. The math ain't mathing, you guys. Remember back in the days when they said that it was the black vote that determined which side would win? Why do you think they were flying all these illegal immigrants in? And they had Obama out there pandering to us to vote. Okay? Although when he was president, he didn't do absolutely nothing for us. And he was from Chicago, a city that's riddled with black on black violence, but did not visit Chicago reportedly one time during his entire 8-year presidency. All of a sudden, he came out this past election cycle pandering to us. Okay, why do you think they did that? Because it was more than 8% of us that voted for Trump. If he won the popular vote, he won all 7 swing states. He won over 300 electoral college votes, and he won more votes than he won the last time. What make you think that it was just 8% of us that voted for him? Oh my gosh, wake up, get a clue, do research. What'd you say, Lord? I forgive you because you know not that you've been bamboozled.
All right. So I want to fact check her real quick. Due to her saying about the Democrats supporting the KKK. So I want to show on on the screen that there's no real evidence of it. However, the 1994 crime bill that she's talking about that have incarcerated a majority of Black Americans or um African Americans is co-authored by the senator or co-authored by President Joe Biden, who was the president in the last administration, and signed into the law by President Bill Clinton, which they are both Democrats, and has been widely criticized for his role contributing to the mass incarceration when it comes to disproportionately affected Black Americans. So I just wanted to clear that up. And look, um, I support the president's just in period, whatever president get elected, due to the respect that the American people has spoken, like myself. So, if the overall majority of Americans have voted for a particular president, obviously it's for a reason, right? But I don't have to agree with everything a president may have done, and it may have been a president that may not be my favorite. But however, I do respect and uphold the position of presidency because out of respect for our country and me being American and me being pro American. So I am a black man who supports Donald J. Trump. Um, Look, I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm not hiding it. I'm not whispering behind closed doors. I'm saying it loud and clear, as you guys see here right on camera. And I stand with Trump. And, I have offended a lot of family members who are very much part of the Democratic Party. And we know how to have a good time and still be amongst each other. And there has been times where maybe they've been offended, and sometimes they'll come around when they come around. And I know there's probably individuals who have um, family members who have been very, very, very dedicated to the Democratic Party, and you supporting Donald Trump just in particular may offend them. But however, I look at it in regards of they should wake up. And if it offends my family members, I always say you should wake up. And most of the things that I debate them on, they can't really substantiate their point. But I am sick of this fake outrage. I'm sick of people, especially, you know, others and black folks in my family, they be looking at me sideways time to time. But like I say, they come around. We still know how to separate the politics and have a good time and uphold the most respect and love for each other. Thankfully, but sometimes they do come off a little bit saying some wild things, like I betrayed some imaginary contract just because I didn't vote how the media told me to. Um, and look, a lot of people out here crying about choice when it comes to abortions, gender, and everything else. But as soon as a black person, just from experience, when it comes to my family members, think differently, suddenly, um, you're a coon or you're a sellout and you're the problem from my experience. But nah, the problem is some people may be stuck on ignorance. And tell me this, and I'm just being real. When it comes to policy, right? Like she said, what law did Trump sign in that was racist? Because meanwhile, the Democrats and some people are really committed to the Democrats. And when you talk history, a lot of people say that it's the Democratic plantation, right? That's the talk and that's the sentiment around black folks. Um, when it comes to them expressing their thoughts, like you've seen with this woman on social media. And when you talk history, a lot of individuals like to act brand new when it comes to that and pushing law that, for example, when it came to Joe Biden and Bill Clinton, those individuals voting and being the co-authors of the 1994 crime bill. So you talk about systematic oppression. Look no further than the people that had been voted for every 4 years in the past, worshiping Clinton and crying happy tears for Obama. A lot of individuals twerked for Kamala. There was more of a show and more of a tour when it comes to a music tour, political wise, and actually standing for what change can be done for the best interest of the American people. And it hasn't done much. However, Kamala Harris never was for the best interest of America, in my opinion, because a lot of individuals in my family, we have, the discussion of black individuals in my family because I am black, obviously. They fall for the skin tone politics. Like she's some kind of queen from Wakanda that came down to save us. And she's black, she's Indian, whatever she is. She went to HBCU. So what? And the truth bomb is that women, a lot of times they say, from the sentiment of a lot of men, and I'm just speaking for the sentiment on the behalf of what I hear from men, black men in particular, that women locked up more black men than a street sweep on Friday night. And not only that, reports say she was keeping brothers in prison longer than their sentences just to use them for cheap labor. But however, if you talk about how she wore Chucks to dance to a Cardi B like song or anything like that, and this woman doesn't even visit, the local communities that really are slandered or really poor and really need help and resources and are drowning. But however, there is a lot of violence within it and no law and order. So, but not one time really did she, get the sentiment of black individuals or African Americans. You seen Donald Trump, he was in a barbershop, right? So, with that being said, I want to move on to the next clip in regards of this woman in regards of black men who voted for Trump.
Seen so many black men worry about illegal immigration and abortion until they had to justify supporting Donald Trump. Yeah. Never. And I've been in politics since I've been a teenager and couldn't even vote. And I've never seen so many black men. Oh, these are legals. These are legals. Oh, abortion. When I'm like, bro, you got like 3 baby mamas and your ass on the corner selling. Yeah. So it's like, tell me the reason. I respect you more if you say, hey, I don't want a brown woman in that chair. It was misogynistic. Got it. I didn't have a problem voting for the black dude. But you had a straight problem voting for a brown woman, and I don't claim she black or Indian because that's her thing. I'm like, for a brown woman who literally would have not. People like, oh, both sides of the coin. No, one is gonna slit your throat. The other one might stab you. You get what I'm saying? I'm trying to get the one that's gonna stab me. I got a better
And
chance
then
of
she
survival.
had a plan for black
Had a
men.
plan,
She had a
had a
plan
whole plan, but it
for
didn't
black
matter
men. It
because
didn't
that
matter.
ego. The
It did
same thing
not
with Trump,
matter.
though. That's why I told people I don't dislike Trump because Trump told you exactly who he
Yeah, he
was.
told you got to
And
respect
so
that.
I said, but the same thing. Trump tapped into the base nature,
Mm-hmm.
especially in 2020, of what white men were feeling. Because real talk, white women did this whole pushing of toxic masculinity, and we was like, every man ain't toxic. What are y'all talking about? I said, I've never seen so many
All
black.
right. Well, from what my understanding is and how I looked at it is, Kamala Harris didn't really care to even have policies or a plan when it came centered around black individuals because the reality is when she realized that she was losing the black men vote in particular, then she wanted to do resources for marijuana and prostate cancer, but she was the same individual who had convicted a lot of individuals and brothers in particular for marijuana usage, right? So that's mind blowing to me because Trump didn't just get 8% of the black vote. He won all 7 swing states. He got more votes than he did in 2016. He got over 300 electoral votes. So you're telling me only 8% of black individuals voted for him? Numbers capped. That number's capped. The reason they brought Obama out of retirement to dance for them, Kamala Harris, I mean, the reason they keep flying in illegal immigrants by the busload back then is because they know the black vote ain't guaranteed no more. And a lot of black individuals are waking up if you want to have the conversation and really have the conversation in its entirety because Megan Thee Stallion and letting Beyonce co-sign her campaign like that's supposed to mean something. You can miss me with the performative nonsense. But look, that's my thoughts on that. But we can go to this next segment when it comes to Trump. Actually, I want to take another deep dive because I also want to say something else before we move on to this clip, right? So all of a sudden, I seen a bunch of individuals that were talking about illegal immigration and the border crisis, right? A bunch of black men talking about the illegal immigration and the border crisis, and the left is out here clowning the black individuals like we just started paying attention. But the thing is, we been new. Y'all just wasn't listening, and they'd be like, I ain't never heard black folks care about immigration before Trump. Really? Maybe that's because y'all were so brainwashed by MSNBC and brunch politics, you forgot we work real jobs and out here. And when you out here busting your behind in a warehouse on a loading dock or a meat and pack plant, and you get told, sorry, we don't need you no more, or we got someone who'll do it cheaper, it hits different. You know, the Nebraska meat packing raid, ICE came through, over 100 jobs opened up for Americans, which should be American first. And you know who applied? Thousands of Americans, black floats included. But the media is still pushing a lie that we don't want to work. That's racist. That's nonsense because they got money for illegal immigrants, hotel rooms, food, healthcare, debit cards, but our schools underfunded, our neighborhoods, and I'm talking for all Americans, like are falling apart and our people can't catch a break and I'm supposed to keep voting for folks doing this? Not me. I'm pro-American. I'm from all Americans, you know. And it's mind-blowing to me how when I look at it, kids can't read on a grade level. They can't do basic math, but they know all 87 darn pronouns before they hit the 5th grade. Make that make sense? I'm not even joking. There are literal school districts where kids can't read, but they're handing out gender identity surveys like candy. You got kindergartners learning about gender fluidity, but they can't tie their shoes. What are we doing? And this is an education. It can come off as an indoctrination. And listen, and if you're an adult and you want to live how you want to live, cool. You're an adult. But when you start pushing irreversible things on children who I feel like are the purest, most angelic individuals on this earth, uh, to me it's predatory in a way. And I'm just having a conversation objectively, speaking on the regards of these individuals, these clips that I'm presenting when it comes to individuals looking at it like, how could the black American or black people vote for Trump, and I'm also looking at it objectively for all Americans, right? Because I don't care what color you are, but I'm just responding to the clips and also my insight to it, while also being insightful and objective, fairly, and just having a conversation. I really want to know your thoughts down in the comments below. Um, and look, the abortions up to 9 months that Donald Trump mentioned, that's just to me, that's like a murder on paperwork. But you know, it's it's like they call it women rights, and are the same ones failing to deliver clean water, safe schools, basic jobs in neighborhoods. Priorities are all out whack, and we're not supposed to question it. Yeah, okay. But however, check out this clip.
And all these ceasefires, we got to give it to them. You got the Congo and Rwanda. I didn't even know Congo and Rwanda was at war until this ceasefire, until Trump brought up this ceasefire between Congo and Rwanda. It was a 30-year war at that, and over 6 million people had died in that war. I had no idea. I know the countries Rwanda and Congo, but I didn't know they was at war. I do remember the incident with Rwanda where there was an issue. There was a war between two factions in Rwanda. I believe it was beef over two tribes, the Hutus and the Tutsis. I do recall that situation in Rwanda. It was basically genocide, and I do believe they said about, was it 4 million people died in that conflict. But man, but I had no idea like that Rwanda was at war with Congo. That's crazy. Who else is that? Who else is possibly at war? But you got to give it to Trump, man. He's negotiating hella ceasefires. He's telling these countries like, if y'all at war, there ain't gonna be no trade deals for y'all. Like if you're a war country and you want to fight, you could just fight. But if you want a trade deal with the USA, y'all gonna have to bring y'all wars to an end.
Yeah, and look, man, Trump brokered peace deals around the world, one of the biggest. And I didn't even know that, and it baffled me because a 30-year war between Congo and Rwanda, over 6 million people dead, and they got both sides to the table and made it happen. But you didn't hear that, did you? It's not in the storylines. It's, of course not, because CNN will rather fact check his tie color than cover real victories. A Congolese reporter recently has said, and this is CNN, right? We'll get to that in a minute. But a Congolese reporter literally said, "Our people know your name." Historic moment. They finally have hope because of Donald Trump. And that's powerful. That's what leadership looks like. But instead of praise, Trump gets hate. And why? Because he does what they can't. Check it out.
Thank you, Mr. It's a great honor. Thank you, Mr. President. So, as Caroline has mentioned, President, first of all, I want to let you know that I'm the only African reporter accredited here at the White House, wow, cover for the entire continent. So, I just arrived from Congo, Democratic Republic of the Congo, right, yesterday. I went to see firsthand how the people is feeling and the president's message, President Felix Tshisekedi, about this upcoming peace deal. And let me tell you firsthand what I've witnessed myself. I spoke with the people on the street. I spoke with youth. They know your name. They know that our president named President Trump is working hard to finally bring peace to the country. I saw hope. They have hope now for a better day in Congo. They see what you're doing as a future, better future for Congo. And I had opportunity to sit down with President Felix Tshisekedi for an interview because I want to understand his mind, what he's thinking, his feeling about everything that your administration is doing. And he told me firsthand that for many years, many American presidents overlooked this conflict. They didn't do nothing. Even myself, I cover President Biden's administration. I pressed many times about this conflict. People are dying in Congo. This country has so much potential, but they need help because this war is destroying the country. Right. They never gave me any answer. And he told me, President Tshisekedi, that you have no idea, he's very thankful for what you're doing, for what your administration is doing.
And there you have it, because Trump doesn't sound like a politician. And that's why the American people trust him. He's blunt. He's direct. You may not love every word, but you know exactly what he stands, where he stands. And compared to the elites, polished, rehearsed, fake, they don't live like everyday American Joe Americans, right? They don't work like us, and they darn sure don't think like us. They're in their own bubbles. And the truth is, they don't hate Trump because he's divisive. They hate him because he's empowered regular people to think, speak, and vote for themselves. And when black folks, because in particular this has been centered around black individuals and their whole take on it. Like I said, I don't care what color you are. I'm pro-American for all Americans. But in particular, just for the conversation's sake, when it comes to um a lot of black individuals and individuals from my experience in my family, like, how could you vote for Trump? He's a racist. Well, he empowers regular people to think, speak, and vote for themselves. And don't you think black folks are doing that too? For the ones who keep bashing others just because they're not part of the Democratic plantation that they feel they should be contracted to, right? Oh, it was game over. And that's why they slander, censor, and demonize anyone who leaves the Democratic Party, or aka Democratic plantation, because they're not going back. Once you woke up to reality and realize the realistic part of it and the consequences, and actually see real life results and real world results, why would you go to something that doesn't deliver or yield results? Because then it would lead to ignorance, and let alone you misleading, not you just misleading and not have the best interest of America, your country, the beloved country of America, and all those who have fought and fight for the freedoms that we have and we are blessed with. But also, it can be misleading to your family, because if you look at it, it's not just big on the national election. What really matters as well is your local elections and within your state. You know what I'm saying? Your local elections. So that's also important, not just on the national scale, but this is setting up for the choices and also the outcome for individuals' children for decades to come. Now I want to get to CNN real quick.
Jobs not done. A foreign minister from Rwanda has told CNN, he said he's committed to supporting this ongoing negotiation, but warned that ending the conflict will depend on political will and the good faith. And he doesn't know if that is true, referring to the DRC's government. It's not done. It's not done.
You didn't watch the news yesterday. They literally announced it in the Oval Office.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is indeed a historical day because it's the signing of a peace agreement between Congo and Rwanda to end a conflict that has been going on for 30 years.
Let me ask you a question.
Literally in the Oval
Office. Can I say something?
Friday afternoon.
You said something earlier. You said, and you kind of agree with Pete, when he says there's something about the media where they feel like they want to disprove Donald Trump. Is that what you said? Something to that effect?
It happens every day.
And you think that's what they want to do, right? You think the media is going in to say he's lying and he's not telling the truth. Do you believe that?
That is the standing disposition.
Do you believe that he tells the truth?
Yeah, I do.
Every time?
You think all presidents? You think the president tells the truth? This current president tells the truth often.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I also think that, to our point that we haven't established, he does announce things before it's too soon.
They literally had the countries in there.
The program isn't.
I feel like you should watch the news before you come out here.
I feel like you should stop trying to defend him just to defend him.
I feel like you should watch the news.
All right.
Stop. Job.
Okay. So you ever notice how every time election season hits, the media rolls out the same playlist? Like, for example, Kamala was at a black church, celebrity endorsement, viral TikToks, pandering on steroids. They treat black voters. And what I come to realize just from my experience, and, they treat black voters like we're just here to dance and vote. No policies, no accountability. And I start waking up because now I have a child and I understand that these decisions in which these public officials that we have elect are lobbying they're lobbying and speaking on the behalf of what the American people have voted. And it's important for all of us as Americans to vote, most importantly, effectively, very correctly, and really know the policies and what's taking place, because this affects generations to come when we're no long gone, and your children's children, right? How many times have we wondered how we suffered from the consequences from actions years ago from past presidents, right? For example, because obviously this has been centered around black voters, and within the black community, and me being a black guy, I've been seeing a sentiment of individuals. There's been a division within the black culture, and me being a black family, where I have seen black families split apart. Literally, a woman, a wife, a girlfriend break up, or say, look, forcing and coercing and persuading and making their husband vote a certain way. And if they don't, let's say, vote for Kamala, then the family is broken. Like families literally broke up off of this divisive rhetoric. And I hate it so much. That's why I always say, let the love supersede the hate, spread that peace, love, and positivity, because I dislike divisive rhetoric. And it has been very divisive to the point where it has become at the detriment of jeopardizing not only the truth and the trust to the American people, because CNN is supposed to just be informative and making sure they tell the truth to inform the American people, but they have took it a step further. And just going off of my experience within the black community, to the point where they'll lie and break up families and jeopardize the trust of all Americans, no matter what skin color as well, because I'm speaking from both ends, on both lenses, just so they can get a popular vote, just to get in office, and don't even have the best interest of America. So there's no policies, no accountability, just marketing. And my experience as a black individual within family, and this is my experience, black men who didn't vote for Kamala because they are um misogynistic, right? And no, it's because they didn't vote for her because they read. Black people, we read because we actually look at her record, because we saw it through the show. But instead of listening, they gaslighted a lot of individuals and black individuals, saying we're too dumb to make informed decisions. And it's the nerve though, right? The nerve. And that's why more and more of black men are saying, I'm out. I don't care what shade that candidate is. I care what they stand for. So I say all this, family, and I want to close basically by saying this isn't about Trump. This isn't just about Trump, right? This is about truth versus lies, and freedom versus control, and faith versus fear, and what kind of country we are leaving for our kids. Are we just going to roll over and accept whatever narrative they feed us as American people, and us as a country, or are we going to stand up and say enough is enough? I know where I stand. I just stand for truth. I don't care what shade of color you are. I stand on principle. I stand with common sense. And if that means getting labeled a problem, so be it. I'm proud to be an individual who wants to make things right, and from a righteous standpoint, and just do right for all Americans, all people, and not a corrupt system. And if you feel the same, like, share, and subscribe. Drop a comment, speak your mind, support the channel, but most of all, stay woke, stay bold, stay free, and keep the faith, right? And I know I spoke on a lot of things from different lenses. I spoke on the behalf of all Americans, and I also spoke with my experience when it comes to black culture and the black community, because I see it in real time amongst my family members, amongst family members, friends of friends, and conversations. But with no further ado, family, always seek the truth, stay informed, do your due diligence, do the research, and always make sure you fact check before you say anything, because context matters just like words matters. And I hope you guys got some value from this video. On that note, family, let the love supersede the hate. Spread that peace, love, and positivity. On that note, family, peace.